Are you wondering what these are, what they have to do with yoga, and why you need them? Continue watching to find out. Welcome to Flow into Alignment, and today we're going to talk about yoga hacks. So let me first move some of these out of the way, and we'll talk about the first hack, which is the wedge, the foam yoga wedge. Let me move these out of the way. And also today I am joined by my cat, Thea. So the yoga foam wedge is, like it says, a foam wedge, and it can be used for many different purposes. The first purpose that I would like to highlight is for your wrist. So a lot of people, they have wrist pain, especially when the wrist gets in a 90-degree angle compared to the forearm. So let's look at that. When you're in plank or tabletop, as you can see, the angle between your hand and your forearm is about 90 degrees. And that can be quite a lot for some people for their wrist. So the wedge is a great tool to use to help take the pressure off of that. You can place it right on top of your mat and place your hands on it. I find it a little bit slippery in that way, so it's best for me, in my opinion, to put it underneath your mat, because then your mat can provide the tackiness that you need to keep your hands still. As you can see, now that I am in tabletop, it provides a less steep angle, so more like a 45-degree angle of the wrist than a 90-degree angle. And then if you were to press into down dog, it gives you the ability to press more into the front of the hand instead of the back of the hand. Whereas if you were not able to use that wedge and you press back into down dog, there's a lot of temptation to press into the bottom part of the palm, which is the part of the palm that puts a lot of pressure on the wrist. So it's great to use that. What if you have knee pain? Well, this is a great tool to use for knee pain. So when you're in, again, a tabletop or maybe a kneeling position, you can place this right here, and it takes some pressure off of the knees here. So you can do that. And then what you can also do, let's say you want to try a yogi squat, which is hard to do. Not all of us can do it, including myself. So let's say you want to go into a yogi squat. You come down to a squat, your heels pop up off the ground, and you're like, how do I get my heels down? Wedge. Get it behind you, place it under your feet. Maybe we even need to place your feet on top of it, and then you can sit back in your squat. Isn't that awesome? The next thing you can use it for is down dog, and that will be the last thing. So for down dog, sometimes you have a hard time putting your heels down again. So kind of place it about where your feet are going to be. Press down into your hands, press your legs back. And your heels are pressed down into your wedge. Without the wedge, you can sometimes get your heels down, but it's a struggle. So sometimes the heels want to lift up. And so the wedge is a great tool for that. As you can see, heels up, taking the wedge behind the feet, heels pressing into the wedge. And I can tell you, that feels great, helps me release my back, helps me keep my back nice and straight the way it's supposed to be in down dog. Let's next talk about the strap, the yoga strap. A lot of toolkits, a lot of yoga kits come with the yoga strap. It's got two, I guess, half circles on one end, and then a nice long strap. This can be useful for many different things. The typical usefulness of it, or the typical use of the tool, is to put it around your leg, to be able to kind of make your your arms feel longer here when you're trying to lean forward, or when you're laying back on your back and you want to grab onto your foot and lay back with it. So that's the typical way that you can use the yoga strap. What other ways that you don't realize that you can use it is to help keep your arms in a good position for chaturanga or for headstand. So what you want to do is, as my cat wants to play with it, put the strap through first the two loops, Then you want to secure it by threading it through so that you only catch one loop. You only put it through the one loop. And then you want to see if that's a good distance for the arms. So typically you want your arms about shoulder width. So this is a little bit narrower than I typically do because shoulder width is a little bit wider than you anticipate with your hands. So I'm going to loosen this just a little bit. And I'm going to see if that kind of works. I'm going to loosen it a little bit more. My cat wants to continue to play with it. All right, yes, that feels a little bit better. So what we're going to do is let me show you how you can use this for push-up, chaturanga. And chaturanga is just like a tricep push-up. So we're going to keep our arms pressing against the strap, having our hands mat width. And now that I have my hands here, I think actually I need to tighten the strap just a little bit. So time to time, as you can see, it's going to take a little finagling to kind of figure out. So pressing your arms into the strap. And again, let me tighten it just a little bit. Get into your position. Press your arms into your strap, lean forward, move into your chaturanga, and then back up again. So as you can see, it helps keep your arms in that nice open position, and then it kind of also gives you a shelf for your chest as you lean forward, trying to keep your elbows over your wrist. As I said, the next way to kind of help with your arms is for headstand. So you might want to tighten up just a little bit because headstand, our elbows are actually going to be in line with our shoulders. You're going to clasp your hands together, press your arms against your strap, tuck in, and move into your headstand, pressing your arms into your strap. Sorry, my cat keeps interrupting me. The next way you can use the strap is to actually help with your posture. Now you're going to need a long strap for this, so depending on how broad your chest is will depend on how long of a strap you'll need. So to help keep your posture, and what I mean by posture is shoulders. A lot of times our shoulders like to roll forward, maybe because we're standing a lot and we just are doing activities that are leaning forward in our shoulders and our chest, or we're sitting a lot at work and we've got that roll forward. So this will just help roll the shoulders back. You're going to bring this strap around your neck. Then you're going to take it underneath your arms. You're going to cross the strap behind your back and then bring it around your front. Now, as you can see, this strap isn't quite long enough because I can't loop it through, but you would like to be able to pull the strap through both loops and then tuck it over one and pull it through one so you can have a nice tight hold. And I'm going to try my best to get there. Oh, and I barely can get it there. So as you can see, it's kind of around your ribs. It doesn't really restrict your breath, and that's not what you want to do. You might need to adjust it here. It may pull on your neck a little bit, so it may not be the most comfortable thing to do. But what it does is it gets my shoulders into nice alignment with my back. So as you can see, the shoulders are right over the hips. It's going to keep me from rolling my shoulders forward. It's going to help encourage me to have my shoulders back. And this is very helpful for being able to have good posture when you're sitting or standing. This is really great. Another thing you can get for your posture is actually you can purchase a back strap that will help correct your posture. Oops, sorry about that. And that's what this is. So I bought this because for me, I do sit a lot for my work and I just need some help correcting the alignment of my shoulders because I do tend to now roll my shoulders forward. So I bought this off of Amazon, and I can put that in the link below, as well as the other links to all these other tools as well. And you don't need anything fancy. This one, I don't remember. It wasn't really that fancy, and you don't need the one that comes around the ribs. You just need this one because it works great. I'm gonna take it through one arm and the other, so like putting on a jacket. It's got Velcro straps and it can go tight. So as you can see, I'm a petite person. And what's great about these straps is because the Velcro, I can place this strap as tight as I need. So excuse the noise with the Velcro. And I'm gonna tighten this up and then place these straps all the way up here. And they hold and they help open my chest, take my shoulders open and align them. So again, you can see they help align the shoulders right over the ribs and keep me from rolling my shoulders forward. This is a little bit more comfortable because it's padded, so you don't have this really stiff strap cutting into your skin, and you don't have anything around the neck kind of pulling on the neck. All this does is just the shoulders. So again, great tool to have. Next, we're going to talk about the yoga block, my first and favorite tool I like to use. So I say my first tool because a lot of times when you purchase a yoga mat, you will get yoga blocks included with it. And there's so much you can do with your yoga blocks. They're so versatile. So a lot of times the pictures that you see is just being able to place your hands on it, but there's more you can do. So we will start with what you typically see with the yoga blocks, is placing them underneath your hands. A lot of times you'll feel like your arms are short. It's not really true, but that's how it feels. So you want to place the blocks underneath your hands. You do want to have them where the block will be the length of your hand, so you can press fully into your hand. If you do more like this position, so you can grab onto it, in my opinion, it's just harder to hold and to press down into. So I like placing them where my whole entire hand can be on the block. So this can be for something like down dog, where you just want to feel like your arms are longer and you can push back easier. And this is great if you struggle with down dog. It just gives you a way to lengthen your arms, create more length in the arms to be able to push back, and look, the heels are down. So this is great to help with down dog. And it also takes some of the pressure off of the wrist again as well. So if you can't get a yoga wedge yet, but you struggle with your wrist, get a kit that comes with a yoga mat and 2 blocks. Great thing to have. Take some of the pressure off the wrist in down dog. It will also help in, let's say, tabletop. It can create some length there. And for those that are more advanced and you want to start working on trying to lift your hips off the ground, again, great tool because it makes your arms feel longer. You would press into the block, squeeze your legs together, and lift them off the ground and do what we call a pull through. So that helps, because a lot of times when you place your arms on the ground, a lot of times it's just hard to lift your hips off the ground. So the block underneath your hands, able to lift your hips off the ground, you'll feel great. Anyway, sorry, I got to get rid of some of the cat hair. The next way you can use this tool is actually to help strengthen your inner thighs. So a lot of times in life, we don't realize that the inner parts of our legs are not as strong as they need to be. So great tool for that. So let's go to standing. Let's see how we can use this for standing. So when we come up to standing, we're going to place the block between our knees. It's going to be tempting to place the block between your thighs, but actually between the knees is the best, because then the muscles of your thighs can move and shift where they need to go. As you squeeze the block, you're going to find that your inner legs, they engage. So your adductor muscles and your inner range quads, they engage and they squeeze towards the center line. You may also find that your pelvic floor activates, as well as your lower abdominal. So these are the muscles of our core. So the block between the knees, squeezing it between the knees, helps with that. What it also will help with is help us to achieve chair. Chair pose is one of those poses that's so hard for me. It's just one of those poses I don't like, and any of my students will tell you that I will tell them that. So chair pose, you can squeeze the block between your knees to help activate those inner legs again, to slide the knees forward, drop the tailbone down and the sit bones down, and then reach those arms up. So it takes a lot of leg strength to hold chair pose. So squeezing the block between your legs really helps with that. One other thing I forgot to mention about the block when it comes to placing the block underneath your hands is crow pose. A lot of people like to be able to achieve crow pose, and it can feel difficult, but the blocks make it a little bit easier. So place your blocks again to where that you can put their hands on them. Now for crow pose, you do want your blocks to be mat width so that your hands are mat width. That'll help you achieve crow pose. You make your arms feel longer, therefore your legs feel shorter, and kind of moving into crow pose, it really helps having the blocks. So that was my most favorite tool. I know I put it third, but it's still my most favorite tool, and I love to use this so much. And there's so many more ways you can use the blocks. I just highlighted a couple of them, so continue to explore what you can use for the blocks. The last tool I want to highlight is a tool that's not used very often by everybody, and it's a yoga wheel. Now, this is one that you don't really need at first. I would say your first ones that you definitely want to purchase, a yoga mat, yoga blocks. Then from there, if you find that you might need a strap or a wedge, do that. So those are the first ones that I would purchase if you're a new beginner to yoga. The yoga wheel is more for those who kind of getting into more the intermediate level of yoga. So if you find yourself more in that kind of level of yoga, then think about getting a yoga wheel. It is a great tool to use. The first things I would like to highlight for the yoga wheel is when you're seated in like diamond pose, for when you're trying to stretch and release forward, you can press the wheel against your chest and lean your chest against the wheel and fold forward. As you can see, it completely supports your chest, and then your arms crossed over the wheel and your head touches your arms. And so then you have complete support of your spine, and you can release forward without any tension. So that's a great way to use it. Another thing that a lot of people could typically use it for is back bending. So, and this is why it is more of an intermediate level tool, is because back bends take a lot of work and a lot of strength to be able to achieve them. So you would have to scoot forward on your mat, place your wheel at your back to where it's touching your back. If you have long hair, you definitely want to make sure that you tuck your hair away so that it doesn't get rolled underneath the wheel and get caught. Press the wheel against your back, and as you can see, I'm using my thumbs and to the inside of the wheel and my fingers to the outside, just to make sure I keep the wheel in the same place so that it doesn't roll away from me. I'm going to slowly roll my back onto the wheel, tilting my chin towards the ceiling and slowly moving my arms. And I may have to scoot forward or move the wheel back to be able to place my head on the wheel. Open the arms out, and you can go into a nice deep bend of the upper back and a release of the chest. And then you can slowly press into the feet, keeping the hips against the wheel. You can place your hands on the floor and slowly roll back to where you come into a back bend. You can just barely touch the top of your head to the floor and stretch your legs out, coming into a back bend here. And then to come off the wheel, you will want to walk your feet back towards your hips. Place your hands on the ground. Keep your head and hips towards the wheel, and slowly walk your feet away from the hips, and you'll find yourself slowly rolling down to where the hips can touch the floor. Take the hands behind the head to support the head. Tilt the chin up. Press into your feet and forearms, or grab onto the wheel again. Press the wheel into the back to help you come up. And then you always want to stretch in the opposite direction after you come up out of a back bend. So I'm going to come back into that diamond pose, fold forward, So that was the last yoga tool. So just to recap, we started off with the wedge, the foam wedge. That can be for hands or heels or knees. Then we went to the strap. The strap can be used for around the arms or around the shoulders, just to help keep the shoulders together. And to accompany that for shoulder placement, we had this tool. And I kind of forget what it's called, what they call it online, but anyway, it's posture corrector or something like that. Then we went to the yoga blocks. And finally, the yoga wheel. Well, I hope that was helpful, and I hope you found these hacks beneficial and that you get to use them on your next yoga class. See you next time. Have a great day.